co-host, First Things First, joining us live, Patrick Mahomes. Pretty good get. Pretty good get. I was surprised by the Celtics by the Celtics. I didn't think they needed Porzingis in this series, and then I watched Pascal Siakam get his way, and I thought, yeah, they need Porzingis and size in this series. I looked at last night, and I'm like, thought they had it, then they lost it. Are you shocked that they should have basically lost that game to Indiana?
I am surprised. Now, look, the Celtics have exasperated me for a long time because you just watch them and you feel like they should be so much better. I'm not fooled by the 64 wins. If they were in the West, they wouldn't have had 64 wins. So they playing in a weaker conference, and they had a nice regular season. Congratulations. But they should be better. And they have 5 days off, Colin. Indiana had 1 day off, coming off an emotional win in Game 7 in New York. The Celtics know we haven't protected home. We've lost a home game in each of the last 2 series this season. We are 15-14 over the last 3 postseasons at home. Let's reestablish our home court advantage. You have all of that working for you, not to mention you're facing a very young team that has no idea what it's like to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you should have lost? That is not good for the Celtics. I still think they win the series just based on their talent and them being the better, more experienced team. But they obviously should have lost that game last night. But for a few mistakes by Indiana at the end of the game, they'd be down 0-1.
Yeah, I think maybe Indiana's better than we think, and Boston's not as good as we think.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's probably a big part of it. I got to give Dallas credit. They took a big swing on Kyrie, bumpy early, now it's great. They took 2 big swings at the trade deadline, and now they have rim protection. So they match up with Minnesota just fine. And they do have the best closers in that series, arguably. I'm going to take Minnesota, but I'm probably giving them too much credit for beating Denver. Recency bias. A lot of people like Dallas. Where are you on this series?
I'm with Minnesota. I'm saying Minnesota in 6. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes 7. And about Dallas, what I felt coming into this series was, or this round, let's say, if they had met Denver, I would not have given them hardly any chance. I don't think they could have beaten Denver. But I do give them a shot against Minnesota just because Minnesota is not as experienced. Their main guy is younger. And unlike had they played Denver, I think Dallas has the best player in the series in Luka Doncic. The thing about Dallas, and one reason I like Minnesota in the series, is that Oklahoma City's defense, which is very good, gave Dallas some trouble, okay? Minnesota's defense is not only better than OKC's, but it's bigger than OKC's. Like, OKC's problem is they don't have any size, and they still were able to give Dallas a lot of trouble. Now Minnesota's got not only great perimeter defenders and defense, but also size, and I think that'll be a big deal. But look, anytime you got Luka, like I said, the best player in the series, and Kyrie's going to have to step up. Now, I think he played a nice floor game for really throughout that series against Oklahoma City, but his scoring wasn't there. I don't think P.J. Washington is going to give you 19 points a game because Minnesota, unlike OKC, a lot of times they'll be able to guard Luka one-on-one. They won't have to double and trap and all that. So that'll take away P.J. Washington, all those open threes that he was getting in the last round. So they're going to need Kyrie to be Kyrie. Now, maybe Colin in the last series, was he pacing himself?
Yeah.
Saying, okay, I'm going to pace myself. I've had health problems, obviously, throughout his career. So let me just pace myself as long as we can win this series and then go full bore in the conference finals. We'll see. But I like Minnesota, as you said.
So JJ Redick to the Lakers, my take, it's late in the process. Anybody you get with LeBron at this point in his career, the great guys, Spoelstra, Kerr, Popovich, Tibbs, they're not interested in that job, right? So the top guys aren't. Right. And the second-tier guys, your Billy Donovans, Ty Lue maybe first tier, but your second tier guys, there's 6 or 7 of those guys, the young guy at OKC, Chris Finch, those guys who are just a notch below the legends. Well, they don't want the job. They have good jobs. Jason Kidd now qualifies as a very good coach. So, and now you're left with like the third tier guys, which is a longtime assistant that's never been a coach, or a smart guy that was recently a player, JJ Redick. That's what you're left with. And some of that is the Lakers don't pay big money for coaches, and LeBron runs through them. So when people bristle at JJ Redick, I'm like, well, you're not getting the legends. You're not going to get the Chris Finch group is very good. This is what you're left with. So let's not go crazy on it. Could Redick be the best of the third group? But a lot of people are really bristling at this. How do you feel about Redick potentially as a coach of the Lakers?
Well, look, of the 3 names that are being mentioned, and there are a few more, Micah Nori and, some of the assistants that are being thrown out there. But really, Sam Cassell, James Borrega, and JJ Redick. I like Cassell best, okay? So as you remember him, he was a leader as a player.
Yep.
He was a very good player. Even though he never made an all-star team, he was clearly an all-star caliber player.
Yep.
And the players respect him, both current players and former players. And so I would give, and he's paid his dues, I think, 15 years as an assistant under some top coaches. So I like Cassell. But JJ, look, the Pat Riley talk, who knows? Colin, this is completely an art. It is not a science. Who would have said Steve Nash, who we know how great he was as not only a player, but intelligent as a player, and you've got the buy-in of your stars, Kyrie and Kevin Durant, who would have said he's going to fail miserably? You never would have thought that. Okay, so you just don't. I've heard of many guys who were great assistants and people thought they'd be the next hot thing, and they fell flat on their face as head coaches. So you don't know. But for Redick, he obviously is intelligent about the game, knows the game, and to his credit, he's gone on to the other network, and he's done a great job of explaining the game and debating the game. And, nobody can say, wow, he doesn't sound like he knows what he's talking about. He does. He also, Colin, has a strong personality, it appears.
Yeah.
And that's what he's going to need. So, look, if they want to give it a try, fine. But one thing, Colin, a lot of guys, you look at the guys that were just pretty good players, role players who have become legendary coaches, Steve Kerr, Pat Riley, Phil Jackson. They generally coached kind of a generation of players after their playing days.
Yeah.
So they weren't coaching anybody that remembers how mediocre they were.
Yeah.
They weren't coaching guys that remember, man, I used to dunk on you. We hunted you on defense, dude. Now you jumping on me for not playing defense? Like, they're going to be dudes that remember, we used to destroy you, JJ Redick, on the other end of the floor. So what are you telling me stuff for? Steve Kerr was like 12 years after his playing career, and, Phil Jackson was in his 40s when he started coaching. So I'm just saying, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but there could be a factor. I mean, Jason Kidd was only 1 year removed from playing, but he was Jason Kidd. Right. He was a Hall of Famer. You had to respect him. So, I'm not going to be excited about the hire if they hire him. And you've heard players say, Colin, Udonis Haslem and some other players say, or former players, there are going to be players in that Lakers locker room that think, oh, is LeBron coaching the team now? Rightly or wrongly, because I personally don't think LeBron is directing this. I don't think he's that involved with this. But that is the perception.
Yeah.
And so are some players on the Lakers going to feel like, is this coming from the coach or is it coming from LeBron? So that could be a problem too.
Yeah, no, you and I agree. I think LeBron hears the chatter about he's controlling it. And I think, LeBron has made it clear, listen, if you given me a choice, I'd take Ty Lue, but I'm not putting my legacy on this because I got one contract left, and you and I agree on that. Chris Broussard, Patrick Mahomes. Try to get a word in edgewise with Nick Wright on that one. Good luck on that.
Right.
All right, buddy.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
See you.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.